Hi guys, welcome to, I don't even know what edition this is, of Coffee Tea, You and Me. Today, we're going to have an amazing topic. We're going to be talking about the next 5 tips, the next 5 aspects of developing your personal networks and understanding how to effectively engage with people. This is amazing. We're on the series now. We're going to be do part 2 of our series, or actually part 3 of our series. The first episode, we did an overall overview of all the different topics. And then last week, we did the first part of the series, and we're going to do the second part of the series today. And then we got 2 more weeks, and then we're going to finish this up. I also got a special presentation and a special thing I want to do this week to honor 3 gentlemen who has literally poured so much into me, and they are now with the ancestors. And I just want to give them some time in our presentation today. So I'm hoping you're going to love it and enjoy it. If you are joining us for the first time, feel free to put your information in the chat, where you're from, what company you have, what company you belong to, anything you want to let us know about getting in front of your business. And of course, ask any questions that you want to have. I also love it if you were to feel comfortable to hit us up on YouTube or on Facebook and join us and give us a thumbs up or whatever you like to do. I really appreciate that, because that increases our SEO and gets our message out there to a lot of people. My name is Marvin Powell. I am your small business coach. My job is to help SWAM businesses get everything they need to do to get their act together, to make sure they have energy, to make sure they have focus, to make sure they have loads of productivity. Welcome to the show, and we're going to get started right after this message. Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. This is Coffee Tea, You and Me. My name is Coach Powell. I am happy to present this episode to you. Today, we're going to do something special because we've got a couple things going on. Obviously, it's Black History Month, and we want to pay as much attention as we possibly can to elders during this time, or others during this time, those that have made a special entry into the business world, that have done something significant. And it's been some events that have been going on, have gone on for me in the last couple of days that I want to take a moment to discuss with you and share with you. Let me see if I can't load something up real quick, if I can find it. There is a photograph of 3 men that I want to share with you all. And if I can, I'm going to do that right now. Well, that's not working the way I want it to work. Let's see if it'll work this way. No, it's not. Okay, this is what happens when you try to figure out technology and you haven't practiced. So there's a photograph that I'll probably share with you in the chat, or I'll figure out how to get it to you in just a little while. Of 3 gentlemen who have literally done so much for me in my life, and the last of them just made transition, and he's with the ancestors a couple days ago. I think it was Wednesday. And the 3 gentlemen I'm talking to you about are all professors at Kent State University, where I went to school, and they are professors or associate professors for the Department of Pan-African Studies. Now, if those of you who are in the audience might have gone to school with me, or you might know anything about that opportunity for me, and you're going to see that, or you might know a little bit that these gentlemen have literally changed the trajectory of so many lives, just based on not just what they taught, but who they are and what they represented for so many students over the years. And I know some of you all might be professors out there, and you don't necessarily get to see or hear what an impact you make on many, many students. So let me just start off telling you just a quick little bit about the Department of Pan-African Studies at Kent State University. This department was one of the first organized departments of Pan-African studies, not Africana studies, not African studies, but Pan-African studies, not Black studies or anything like that. Pan-African studies, meaning they studied the African experience all over the world. And they were one of the first to offer a degree in Pan-African studies, a minor degree in Pan-African studies. And I was blessed to have an opportunity to participate in the department, be a part of that experience when I was a student there, because the events surrounding May 4th and the tumultuous time in our country that happened when the 4 students were shot in Ohio created an opportunity for the university to come in and do some overhaul, so to speak, and to become more open and friendly and welcoming to students of any color, and to really help represent the different political views that were out there at the time. You might know that the Center for Peaceful Change came out of that movement, that political movement during the early 70s, as well as the Department of Pan-African Studies. And the Department of Pan-African Studies was one of the first departments of its type in the nation and in the world, actually. And the founder, Dr. Crosby, I should say, I'm sorry, recently passed. And I'm going to talk to you about the 3 gentlemen who I wanted to share a photograph of them with you, but I can't figure out how to do that at the same time and be on the call with you guys. I'm going to figure that out. But as I'm talking, let me just start telling you. Tim Moore, Dr. Halim Eldab, and Dr. Edward Crosby, all were personal friends of mine, professors of mine, teachers of mine, and they literally poured so much into me. And I'm going to share some of the things that I learned from them. First of all, the Department of Pan-African Studies is almost like a mini HBCU buried within Kent State University, which is a crazy thing to say, but that's how I experienced it. It was my personal HBCU. And I got everything because I visited many HBCUs since then. And I pretty much got everything that I needed to get, right, from Kent State. And it was almost like my own little HBCU experience. I met students and faculty and leaders from all over the globe. And that looked like me, talked like me, had some very, very significant sensibilities, but were also different because they came from regions that I didn't have a chance to experience. I met students from Colorado, Texas. I met students from Idaho. I met Black students from, all the way up from Cornell, New York City, those areas. It was just amazing. And I met Black students that were actually coming from Korea and coming from Germany and coming from Africa itself, which was just a crazy time and a great experience for me, because I began to identify and begin to develop my own sense of self. In fact, that was one of the lessons that Dr. Crosby taught me. He said, I'll never forget it, the day he sat down with a lot of us and explained to us that, many people come to the university because you think you're going to get a degree and then get a job. And that's the reason why you do this. And that's not a good reason for you to study anything. What you want to do is develop the muscles, develop the skills, develop the intellectual, the analysis, things that you need to learn to do to become a better person, so that you leave here, this university, a better person than when you entered, and you know more about yourself, or at least enough about yourself that you know how you want to enter the world and where you want to make an impact. And I'll never forget, he said, don't leave here thinking you got a degree and somebody owes you something. You leave here when you are ready to leave here, and leave here when you know who you are, when you know what you want to contribute to the universe, and when you're ready to take on the next challenge. And I that just went against the grain of everything, I thought going into the university, like the stress of choosing a major and picking out different things. Dr. Crosby would say to us, try everything. Join every club that you think you might be interested in. Become a part of every movement that you think you might be interested in, because you're going to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and what you're supposed to do. And I loved him for giving me that advice. Dr. Eldab taught us African movement and dance. And more important than the dance part, because he was older and he really couldn't do the moves, but he knew what they're supposed to look like, so he could correct us. And I had no idea. Here's a music professor, teaching us dance, and the integration between the rhythm of the sound of the music and the movement. And I had no clue at the time that he had put together some music that was historical and famous. To this day, the Martha Graham dance troupe is still performing to music that Halim El-Dab put together for Miss Graham back in I don't even know, maybe early 40s or 50s or whatever. And when she was modernizing the American dance movement, and they did work together that, today, that troupe is still performing. It's almost like, if anybody has ever seen the Dance Theater of Harlem, right? Their famous pieces are still done over and over and over and over again. It's the same thing with Martha Graham, and she's still doing the pieces that her and El-Dab put together. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Though both of them have long since gone to be with the ancestors, but Dr. El-Dab was one of those people who just shared with us how important it is to not think that education, it needs to be in a box. It needs to be open, and it needs to be representative of so many different disciplines. And I never thought that, I would add a dance piece or a drum piece or a rhythm piece into my formal education. But because of him, I was able to do it. Took a couple classes with Dr. Dobb. The last person I want to talk to you about is Tim Moore. Tim Moore was an extra special person. All of these gentlemen were kind, and they gave their attention to students, and they paid attention to students. But Tim was extra special in that, he helped us learn about representation and how graphic images and how movies and how the African American experience in the American life had been depicted, and what that meant to us here and now, and how we could use that here and now, and what to take from it that was significant and what to discard as irrelevant, which is very, very important, because when you see images and you're trying to teach your children what is positive about who they are and what they experience and what they represent, they're looking at a lot of images that don't necessarily reflect the best of who they are and their people are, and they're not necessarily getting that without someone who can help them interpret it. And that's what Tim did for me. So I'm happy to say that, I'm proud that I've had a chance to meet and be at the feet of all three of these men and learn from them. There's so many more, but like I said, they have recently made transition with the ancestors. We lost Dr. El-Dab last year, and then we lost Tim Moore about a week ago, and then we lost Dr. Crosby even a couple of days ago. And so in any case, I will share a picture with you guys in the post. And today's topic is pretty special, because today we're going to be talking about one of the most exciting aspects of creating professional relationships, or actually 5 of the most exciting aspects of creating professional relationships. And we're going to just break those down in little pieces. And listen, I want your feedback in any of these things you have ideas about, anything that you'd like to share. Let's get it out there. If you are, like I said, if you're calling in or falling in from anywhere in the country, just go ahead and put your name and your where you're from in the chat, or maybe even where we met in the chat. It'll be exciting and interesting for me. And anything you think about as we go through the discussions, feel free to chime in. We're going to talk today about communicating effectively. How do you do that? We're going to be talking about how to find super promoters, and we're going to talk about how to refresh your inner circle and how to add an advisory council into your world and into your life. And last but not least, we're going to talk about developing the collaborative mindset. Now, these are just 5 of the 20 tips and strategies that I'm going to share with you over the next couple of weeks. If you haven't looked at the previous 2 workshops, you can catch those on YouTube. So you can just go back to my YouTube channel. In fact, I'm going to post that channel in the chat for you. So if you haven't already gone to it and seen it, you can go back to the YouTube channel and you could see those past episodes. In fact, I'm going to put it up here so to make it easy for you because we're live right now. That's amazing. And also, if you want to go, if you found me on Facebook and you want to check us out there, you can absolutely do that as well. Now, you should be able to see the YouTube video pop up. Yes, it's popped up in both Facebook and on YouTube because we're broadcasting and on YouTube and on Facebook right now. Hey, this is Danielle Tucker is in the house. It's good to see you, Danielle. Thank you so much for coming through. Danielle is a representative of New York Life, and she's coming to us from Springfield. That's great to have you on board. Like I said, anybody who is out there who hasn't represented, that hasn't put their information in the chat, definitely do that. I'll try to give you a shout out, especially early in, as we're starting to get warmed up. We want you to meet each other, talk to each other. Danielle and I think, Danielle, where did we meet? I think we met on LinkedIn. And we've actually spoken before, which is great. I'm open to talk and chat with anybody who engages with me. So, as long as you are, respectful and kind and, don't try to force whatever product or service you have down my throat, we're going to get along just fine. Right. And if it's, by the way, Daniel, if there's a target market that you want to talk to, you want to hit, definitely put that in the chat as well. We make sure that everybody knows that you're the person to talk to. Suresh Kimlani is just jumping in. Suresh is my favorite tailor. I love Suresh. He's working on a suede jacket for me right now. So I don't think there's anything that Suresh can't do. But Suresh, if you want to put your contact information in the chat, feel free to do that, and people will be able to get in contact with you. Okay, so let's start off topic number 1, communicating effectively. I can't say this enough. It seems to me that small business owners think they're communicating when they're talking. And, yes, you do have to know how to represent your brand verbally. You do have to know how to create imagery and create opportunities for other people to respond to. I'm going to come back to that. But more importantly than communicating to get a message out, you have to be able to communicate the right message, right? Because surely if you don't put anything out there for somebody to respond to, then that's going to make it very difficult to do whatever it is that you do. However, if you don't learn the most important aspect of communication, which I'm going to say is listening, and there are 2 types of listening that I want you to think about. If you don't learn listening and the importance of listening, then you're going to make the mistake of thinking you know what to say and show to other people in order to get them to respond. And that's going to be a mistake. It's going to be a mistake. Now, I know everybody, when they say, you got to communicate in marketing and you got to, sales, and you got to put your information out there and all that's important stuff, right? Your representation is critically important, and how you represent your brand and your products and services is critically important. There is no getting around that fact. However, if you do it wrong, you don't necessarily get a second chance with people. And I'm going to say that because there's something really special about effective communication and some benefits of effective communication that you miss completely if you get it wrong. So let's get back to this listening piece. If you listen to people and you do it well, what happens is 2 things. The most important thing that happens is the person that you're listening to feels understood. That's different than being heard, right? I don't need you to feel like I hear you. I need you to feel like I understand you, which means I have to do something on my end to verify that I understand what you're saying, which means I don't just have to do active listening. I have to do reflective listening, right? Active listening is being totally focused and engaged in what another person is saying, right? So much so that you don't allow yourself to have any distractions. You are totally in with them, right? Reflective listening, though, is a dialogue that's back and forth, and it causes you to give them the feedback they need to have in order to know that you understand where they're saying, what they're coming from, and to correct you if your perception of what they're saying and how they're feeling or whatever is wrong. This is a critically important skill because we think of communication often as blah, 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 blah. We show up and we throw up on people, right? That's not what effective communication is. That's an aspect of communication, but effective communication requires that you think through that word a little bit more and understand that to be effective, there must be a mutual understanding after the communication has taken place. And until that mutual understanding has taken place, the communication isn't effective. So now, why do we mention this in the framework of learning how and growing your networks, learning how to create professional relationships? Well, communication is basically the beginning of every relationship opportunity that you're going to ever have. This is a fact. And so until you can effectively attract people that you need to be sharing and talking with and so on and so forth, you need to learn how to do it. And you need to learn how to listen. You need to learn how to respond. You need to learn how those activities, both you speaking as well as you engaging, as well as you listening to other person, is a full communicative effort. And it requires skill. It requires practice. It requires rehearsal. It requires you to engage in a different kind of way than you might naturally think about it. Because the ultimate goal of your communication when you're talking about winning relationships with people and creating relationships with people is to earn their trust. And I'll give you a secret. Most of us will give everybody trust if they give us the right indicators that they deserve and should have our trust. Even those that are the most emotionally damaged, socially unacceptable people can learn to trust if people give them the right tools, the right inroads, they push the right buttons, they learn to say the right things in order to earn the trust. So that's a whole different communications class we can teach, but I want you to think through if the end goal is in every communication that you have, if the end goal is to deepen the amount of trust that you have with the person who's communicating with you, who you're communicating with, then the most important things you can do are active and reflective listening. In that is a truckload of feedback and engagement and social connection. And, it is what the word social intelligence is built out of. And if you haven't taken a class on emotional intelligence and then social intelligence, because you have to do one before you do the other, right? You have to get your own emotions and feelings together before you can work with someone else. All right. And there you're going to have more effective communication. So if anybody has any tools or tips or tricks that they like to use to know that they have effectively communicated to someone else or with someone else, put those ideas in the chat. I want to discuss them with you. I want you to talk about it. The next thing we're going to talk about when it comes to developing your professional relationships is finding super promoters. How many of you out there, would love to have Oprah fall in love with you and invite you into her universe? Right? Everybody would, because everybody already knows that Oprah is a super promoter. So now, what are the characteristics of a super promoter? There are people who could literally put you on the right stage, in the right setting, with the right people at the right time. They could put you there. There are so many people, too many people to name, that got their start, that got their lift into whatever success they had afterwards because Oprah Winfrey sprinkled that fairy dust on them. That's all. That's all happened. She decided this is somebody special. This is somebody unique. This is somebody I think my audience members would love to know, to participate with, to get to understand. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that it happens. To this day, I don't think we would know Dr. Phil if it wasn't for Oprah. I don't think we would know Ayan Levenzant if it wasn't for Oprah. I don't think we would even know Danny Goldman, who was the father of emotional intelligence, without Oprah. You know, this guy basically did the most seminal studies on how we deal with our emotions and what our emotions mean to us, and literally is flipping the script in terms of how companies all over the world are working and effectively communicating with people, because they have to know that emotions are a part of everything we do. And if you tap those emotions correctly, people fall in love with each other. If you tap those emotions incorrectly, people hate each other and they begin to cause discord and disconnection. This is critically important stuff we're talking about. So finding your super promoters is important, because people who can put you on the right stages allow you to be exposed to those who need to hear from you, right? If people don't find the right people, don't connect with the right people, then oftentimes opportunities that they wouldn't can understand, can grab hold of, they never get a chance to, because those opportunities go someplace else. This is somebody who was connected. Studies show that 85% of all career opportunities, 85% of all career opportunities do not happen because you were the skilled person, do not happen because you were the talented person, do not happen because you were the smartest. All those things are important, they're critical. Don't let me tell you, or let anybody else tell you that they're not critical. But if no one knows, if no one who could do something with that talent, that skill, that intelligence in yours, if no one who could exercise it and massage it and help it along, if no one engages with you like this, then I think we wouldn't have known about you. We wouldn't have had the opportunity. Venus and Serena Williams got their start because a local news channel heard there was these two little black girls, in this area of I think it was Los Angeles, that were learning tennis by their father, and their father was making claims that they're going to be the number 1 and number 2 players in the world one day. Certainly, soon. He was that confident in his girls. He was that confident in what he was doing, even though he learned tennis and how to coach tennis from a VHS tape, something like that, if I got it correct. Now, think about that. If that news reporter or journalist or producers or whoever hadn't got the whiff that those two girls were out there doing what they're doing, the chances that their meteoric rise might be greatly diminished. Had they somehow missed an opportunity along the way, maybe when the call came for them to come study and play at one of the more advanced levels of tennis, or join the right tournaments and all that kind of stuff, all started to pour in after they got that original exposure. But if they'd have said no for some reason, I don't have time, I don't want to play today, I don't feel like it, whatever that is, and those opportunities would have passed them by. So opportunity after opportunity after opportunity kept presenting itself because of that original exposure, because of that original, and you have to say yes. Now, I'm not telling you to say yes to every opportunity that comes along, but I'm saying that if you have an end result in mind that you're trying to get to, and Mr. Williams had an end result in mind that he was trying to get his daughters to. Say what you want to say about Joe Jackson and many other mothers and fathers who have theater children or musical children or sports children, and the amount of pressure and the intensity that could come from doing that to a child, right? Helping someone to learn the value of practice, of rehearsal, of discipline is probably the greatest gift you could give them, because they could transfer those gifts into a lot of other things. And so Mr. Williams became a super promoter of his girls. And he found other promoters who would help them continue to raise their level until they didn't need him anymore, and they didn't know how to find their own super promoters. We're always going to need them. That's the thing. We're always going to need people in our camp. We're always going to need people to do the PR for us. We're all going to need people to help us craft our messages so that it goes to the right place at the right time. We're always going to need people to help to invite us into things and to expose us to people. This is all the job, but this is what promoters do. And some of them get paid and some of them don't get paid. It doesn't matter. It's not about who can I pay to do this for me. It is about who is skilled enough and has the market, has the talent to put me in the right stage, has the ability. Now, we'll work on the willingness later, but you have to identify people who have the ability. So there's stages right now you should be on. There's associations that not only should you belong to, you should be in front of them, leading the charge for your industry and for your business, right? And so you have to think about that. What association leaders should be in love with you, should be inviting you to come to the table and make decisions for the entire industry? What level of experience and talent that you have that is deserving of a promoter or something to come by and go, I see you, young Cassius Clay. I want to help you become the world champion, Muhammad Ali. You see, a promoter is going to find that talent in the rough, is going to see opportunities that maybe other people look past or don't see, and figure out a way to help this person elevate the game, get paid more than they ever got paid before. Without the right agency, without the right people committed to your rise and your success, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to do it. I don't care how great you are at what you do. If you're the only person that is standing on the corner saying, I'm the greatest thing since sliced cheese, pretty soon you're going to look like an idiot, by the way. And maybe that's not even the right corner. Maybe you need, somebody else to come along and go, yes, I see that you are the greatest thing since sliced cheese, but you are at the wrong place talking about that. In fact, you need to sit down and let me talk about you over here to this other place where there's a ton of people who are receptive, who are willing, who want to participate, who want to see you do your amazing feats, and they want to be a part of your success. So let me take you over there. That's a super promoter. That's a person who's going to be your advocate. That's a person who's going to look out for you and your opportunities and help you find opportunities that maybe you hadn't even thought about. There was a gentleman, if anybody have seen the movie about the startup of Facebook, there was a gentleman from Napster. I promise you, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be using Facebook today. If it wasn't for him introducing the leader of Facebook to the Silicon Valley experts and all that kind of stuff, like snatching them right out of school, and saying, we're moving to California, we're going to do this thing. That's crazy, right? But that's how it happens. Somebody gets a whiff of your talent. So now you got to position yourself to get lucky. You got to position yourself to get seen and exposed and heard. That means you got to do that initial work. You got to put your information out in front of people who can take you to the next level. So they know you exist. So they know, oh, let me see what's going on. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a well-polished, highly produced effort. It just has to be, your expertise has to be clear, and people have to be able to see it clearly, whatever that is, whatever your expertise is. And if they can do that, they're gonna want to promote you. They're gonna want to tell friends about you. They're gonna want to be associated with you because you're an expert. Everybody wants to associate with expert. Nobody wants to associate with novices or I'm just trying. Could you just help me? No. You need to be an expert, tried and true, and you need to show up like one somewhere in something. It doesn't even have to be the thing that you're an expert in right now, or things that you want to build an expertise in right now, but it has to be something. And I think a lot of times as we get older, we forget that our experience counts. We've got, all of us have some expertise. If you're over 30 or 40, you got some expertise in something. It's just a matter of you tapping into it and figuring out who wants it, who wants to share it, who wants to experience it. And once you do that, now you got to get it to the right people. You got to get the information to the right people. The third thing I want to talk about is developing your inner circle. So I'm a big believer that every one of us was born to accomplish something special, to accomplish something unique, to accomplish something that's just there for us to accomplish. In order to do that, we got to find our tribe. We got to find people, and we have to surround ourselves with people who are going to identify with our purpose, our mission, the values we have, the things that we love, the people that we love, and go, yes, we want to support that. Now, not only does your inner circle support your efforts, support your mission, support the people that you want to support, they help you get on the trajectory to the greatest parts of yourself better than anything else, better than anyone else. Because they're saying to you, each and every one of them that are in your inner circle are saying to you, I want to be on your team. I want to partner with you. I want to collaborate with you. I want to work with you to elevate you. And I want you to work with me to elevate me. And collectively, we are so much stronger than any one individual could ever be. In fact, your inner circle should be built out of, and these are just my rules, you can build your inner circle the way you want to, but for me, when I invite someone into my inner circle, the first thing I'm going to do is introduce them to the other members of my inner circle, right? And I'm going to orient them. I'm going to say, okay, this person I'm inviting into the inner circle with us because they have this strength. They have these resources. They have these connections, this talent, this skill, this ability that I find that I'm lacking. And none of you have the same skills or talents or abilities or resources. And so we need to have that in order to move the whole ship forward. And I'm inviting this person in a circle. And I'm going to let them do what the inner circle is supposed to do. Show up. Protect me. Examine this person to see if this person has what it takes. I mean, I've done my examination. I think they have it, but I need my inner circle to embrace them. So I need them to put them through their paces, ask the tough questions, find out about their character and their competence, see if they are fit for what we're doing and who we are and what we're trying to be. And if they're not, I need them to tell me. I need my inner circle that will tell me, and then, no, this is not a person. They're not ready to come into the inner circle yet. We can keep them in the incubation process, put them back out on the second circle, on the second tier circle, and then later on, maybe you can invite them in the inner circle. They got some work to do. They're not ready to play with us yet. They're not ready to play on the big team. You thought they were, but no, you're not. I'm gonna listen to my inner circle because I've selected them and placed them in that inner circle for the exact same reason. To keep me from making mistakes, to keep me moving forward faster, to keep me from, expecting too much too soon from the wrong people, because it's not there. Those persons that are on a transaction level, they're not on my inner circle. We've had one meeting. I know you, you know me, but unless I invite you into the circle of trust, where the crew is, where the family is, then you got some work to do. And guess who knows the work that you have to do? That would be me, because it's my inner circle. Now, I know some of you all have questions, right? Can you build several different inner circles? No, there's only one inner circle. You can have concentric circles and other people around it, but inside, you only have emotional capacity for a few people who are willing to put forth the resources, the talent, the structure, everything that needs to happen for that inner circle to work. That's your team. That is your personal team. That has nothing to do with everything else that's going on in the universe. That these are you people that you've come together with, and you've agreed that these are people that you want to play with, and they want to play with you. Now, you can't buy an inner circle. You can't join an inner circle. You have to earn your way in. You have to be invited, and you have to do what it takes to maintain those relationships. I don't suggest that you try to build an inner circle that has 10 or 12 people in it. Too much. If you're an extrovert, maybe you can handle it. I'm an introvert. My inner circle has room for about 5 or 6 people, and I'm always looking for who I'm going to kick out. Right. It's very, very important. That's a great question, Calvin. And that brings me to number 4, right? You have to refresh your inner circle, right? You have to make sure that you have room for new people to come into your inner circle, because new people are going to give you different information, different advice, different consultation, different opportunities, right? They're going to be able to leverage and support you in different ways than people that are already there. So you might have a broken inner circle right now, that a whole bunch of people in there that really, they were with you in the last season of your last part of your life, but they're probably not going to go forward with you in the next season of your life. You got to eject them. You got to get rid of them because they're not ready. And they're slowing you down. They become a drag on your resources. I'm not saying you can't be friends, or you still can't be family, whatever that is, but don't invite them into that special place where you need all things going in the right direction, all cylinders moving in the right direction. They're not ready to go with you. They're not ready to see. Yes, the inner circle meets regularly. And now here's what's different between an inner circle and an advisory council. An inner circle, it might be helping you work towards your grand vision of things, right? That's the person those are the people that love you. They care about you intensely, and they're investing in them, and you're investing in them, time, effort, and energy. That's happening, right? All of that is being transferred in your inner circle constantly. Your advisory council could be convened for a specific moment, a specific area of time, a goal that you're trying to get to. That's a difference, because an advisory council is going to be there to just focus on this one aspect of your growth and development, one aspect of what you're doing. They're not necessarily going to help you in your spiritual development. They're not necessarily going to be thinking about your relationships and how you feel and how you work. No. Advisory council is going to be focused on goal. We got to get this done, and this is what we consider winning. We got a real defined look at it, what it is, and you call it a SMART thing. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's relevant, it's time bound, and we know what it is. And so yes, we know you're going after this goal. We want to go with you. That's an advisory council. Again, you don't necessarily have to pay an advisory council, but there must be some value to the members of the advisory council. They don't have to even know each other. That could be a part of the value proposition for them. But you better know, if you're going to recruit an advisory council, and I'm going to think that I'm going to say that everybody needs an advisory council. 1 or 2 members of the advisory council might get to be on your inner circle if you hit it off like that. I mean, if you have that deep soul connection, that person can be in your inner circle and on your advisory council. But be careful, because then other members of the advisory council might be asking, no, why are you spending more time and more connection with this person than you are with us? And I'm okay with just straight up saying, you're not ready to be in my inner circle yet. I have this is advisory council, this is inner circle. Some people have a problem with that because they feel like, that separatist or whatever, it might be standoffish. And I get that. But again, your level of discernment and social intelligence are going to help you figure that out. What's the appropriate way? If a person is on the advisory council, they're there for the goal. They're not there to belong to your tribe. You feel me? That's different. And so you got to know the difference. Okay. We covered refreshing your inner circle, advisory council. Why is an advisory council important? Just like your inner circle, your advisory council is going to be protective. Your advisory council is going to be supportive. Your advisory council is going to be informative. Your advisory council might even roll up their sleeves and go to work. But at bare minimum, they're going to tell you what you're doing and how you're doing it and how good you're doing it or not doing it. And they're going to give you the most constructive criticism of all. Now, in all these groups, your inner circle and your advisory council, you want diversity, right? You want people of different ages, people of different backgrounds, social, emotional, economic. You want people of different in different places, because perspective comes from all these different areas, and you want to make sure you have the benefit of as much perspective as possible, specifically in an advisory council. Because people tend to mix that advisory council idea with the inner circle quite a bit, and what tends to happen, because they're lazy, right? They don't want to participate in two different ideas, two different concepts all the time. It make you schizophrenic. I get that, but the reality is, you could be a little bit more homogeneous in your inner circle, but your advisory council cannot lack perspective, because it's got to push you forward. It's got to push you forward fast toward the goal. If not, then I think you got a broken advisory council, and you have a broken definition or understanding of what an advisory council is there for. It's there to get you to the Super Bowl. That's a defined thing. It's not there to turn you into a consistent championship team. Right? It's very, very important. And you're right, Kelvin. There are many, many layers and many, many levels, and we could discuss it all day. But the reality is, you can't approach the same thing the same way and get different results. You have to approach different areas and different things in different ways, and you have to be willing to stretch yourself into those uncomfortable opportunities. The last thing I'm going to mention, and then we're going to try to take as many questions as we possibly can and introduce you guys to each other as much as we can. The last thing I want to mention is developing a collaborative mindset. Think about it like this. If there is something that you want to be, do, or have right now today that you don't, learning to collaborate is a way to create more energy, more power, more strength, and more movement toward that thing that you want to be, do, or have than it is right now. Collaboration is the ultimate in paying respect to every individual's ability to add something special to the team. When you refuse to move because you find yourself all by yourself, I think you're doing a great thing to you. Great thing. Because very few things are so urgent that they require you to be a solo sport. It might be more comfortable for you to be solo sport, because collaboration means you got to work together. You got to get permission to proceed. You got to onboard people. You got to make sure there's a collective mindset that you all agree on, or there's this different strengths and energies, and you have to be willing to go for this and go for that. It's very complicated to be a leader who understands, I'm going to say, the collaborative art. It takes practice. It takes the willingness to confront issues that are uncomfortable and do that well. Go back to listening right up front, right? So if you start to, if you don't do that well, if you don't communicate effectively, and then, you're not going to be able to collaborate. It's not going to work well for you, because you're not going to be a person that people like to play with. People like to play with people who communicate effectively. They like to play with people who make them feel understood. They like to play with people who are mindful of the fact that every person wants to be meaningful, wants to be significant, and wants to be relevant in every space that they're in all the time. And the only way we're going to know, the only way any one of us know that we are significant, meaningful, and relevant is when we get the feedback from somebody else that our efforts are valuable, that our efforts are meaningful, that our thoughts in terms of actions that we've put together make sense and they're valued by other people. So that means if you don't know how to give and receive feedback, you're never going to be a great collaborator. If you're the person that refuses to sees an issue and refuses to speak on it when you know that somebody you're trying to work with might be significantly damaged, or the effort even that you're both trying to do might be significantly damaged, you got to think about it. Your collaboration skills are kind of off. If you find that you don't enjoy learning and using the talent that someone else has and putting them on a trajectory where they can be successful along with you, if you don't enjoy that process, that working it out kind of process, then you might be a horrible collaborator. You need to work on that, because somebody who's collaborating with you wants you to be successful. They want to see you successful. They want to participate in your success. They don't want to they're not jealous of you. There's no room for ego, jealousy, pride in the me in a collaborative effort. That has to be something that is something it's us against the world in a collaborative effort. And I'm smiling because I see a lot of my friends popping in, and this is a great thing. I'm so glad. It warms my heart to see you guys out there, you ladies and gentlemen, that you're out there participating. Listen, if you haven't already, you haven't introduced yourself, definitely put in, have people join you, connect with you on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever that is. Give them a shout out if you know them in the chat. And we're going to take a time to deal with some questions. Today's topic is communicating effectively, finding your super promoters, refreshing your inner circle, adding an advisory council, and developing the collaborative mindset. Next week, we're going to go deep in some other areas, and I'm just going to give you a quick preview of that real quick. Next week, we're going to be talking about the next 5 topics in our 20 topic series. We're going to talk about avoiding the typical traps that most networkers find themselves in. We're going to talk about how to act in a collaborative way on principle. What are the principles that you need to keep in mind? We're going to talk about creating the magic moments with people every time. Whenever you're with somebody, how to create a magic moment. We're going to talk about the power of the ask, how to make sure that you are correctly positioning yourself to get what you need from others. And then we're going to talk about the return on investment of attention. This is going to be a really fun episode next week. So if you like what we're doing and you're interested, go ahead and make sure you tune in. Go ahead and make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, and make sure that you're on top of this thing. So now let's meet some of my partners out there and see if I got any questions, or they got any questions. Suresh Kimlani's out there right now. I see Suresh is one of the best tailors that I know, and he can hook you up. If he's a magic with that tape, he knows how to measure stuff, and he can make it happen. And so if you need to look good, if you need to feel good about looking good, you need to work with Suresh. It's just one of those things. Donnell is another coach, my brother from another mother. He's a West Coasterner, but I love him. One of the greatest leaders that ever came out of the United States Army. And I love this guy. I can't say enough about the talent he has in all of the HR functions, and especially in recruiting and different things like that. He's a genius at that. Just one of the people that absolutely love. So if he gives you some time and effort and energy, definitely take advantage of that, because he's an amazing person. It's good to see you back in the fold, Donnell. Been missing you, bro. And then there's Calvin. Calvin and I are up to some good trouble, as my good fraternity brother John Lewis would say. We're going to create some webinars and some contact information that's going to be off the chain. Calvin is a professor and a teacher of many different ideas. I think you're teaching at American U right now, right? Aren't you, Calvin? And I know he's also, around here locally working with his kids and all that kind of stuff. So he's just a great person. I love knowing him, and I love hanging around him. So I got some good people that I kind of surround myself with, which is a beautiful thing, right? Valerie Walker, do me a favor, Valerie. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us where we know you from? She says, speaking of Oprah, my story, The Parting Gift, was published in her October edition of her magazine, Joy in the Morning. I continue to practice the law of attraction. Wait a minute. Valerie, are you telling me that you're an author and that you've been published in Oprah magazine? Is that what you're telling me? I need you to confirm that, Valerie. I just need you to say that right out loud and right up front. So if you definitely put that back in the chat again, and again, tell us who you are and how you came upon Coffee Tea You and Me. Okay, is anybody have any questions that you want to share? Let me see. Joshua Best, Northern Virginia Panera Bread. Okay, Joshua, I see you. Thanks for coming out. I really appreciate you. So I gave a shout out to Danielle already. There's Suresh already, and Joshua Best. Good to see you, Joshua. I'm so glad you all came. This has been a lot of fun. Okay, any questions on any of the topics that we talked about at all? Anything that you think that others can learn from? Anything you'd like to share? I know Suresh shared a tip when we were talking back in the area where we were talking about refreshing your inner circle, and Suresh threw out there that asking questions is a great way to bring people closer to you. It's a great way to pay attention to them. It's a great way to show up, to be able to focus. That's interesting that you brought that topic up, because asking questions is a very important aspect of listening. Inquisitiveness requires you to show interest in someone else. And so I have a mantra that I'm going to teach you. I think I made it up, but I often find myself having said things that I heard maybe years ago and did not realize that somebody else said it first. So if you know somebody else said this first, go ahead and put me on blast. I don't care. Go ahead and let me know if somebody else said it first. But I'm going to say this. The law of reciprocity works like this. Anything you want for somebody else to do or be for you, you must be willing to first do that for them. And so that's kind of how the law of reciprocity works. You got to put that investment in other people. I remember that great motivational speaker and leader, Brian Tracy, once said this. He said, you have to be able to give it out in slices, right? It'll come back to you in loaves. That's a very, very important part of what I'm about to tell you right now. If you want people to be interested in you, you must first be interested in them. So that means in order for you to be interesting, you first have to be interested. So being interested means you approach a person from a whole different area than if you're just waiting to say whatever it is you want to say. If you're not actively interested in another person, if you're not asking them the questions about who they are, what they're all about, where they're coming from, what's special about what they have to bring to the universe or the world, what would they like to do if everything was perfect, then you're missing an opportunity to have a real conversation with someone. You're missing an opportunity to really connect with another human being and make them feel understood. So I created a system, and for those of you who want it, you ask me for it, hit me in a DM or whatever, ask me for True Voice, and I will share with you a guaranteed system that will make people fall in love with you if you just ask them these questions. It's questions that are coming out of 5 different areas of life. One is their vision. You need to be able to know what the person's vision is. What are they trying to get to? What do they wish they had? What do they want to be, right? You need to have some vision, some ideas about that. Then there's obstacles. What's standing in their way? What's keeping them from getting to the place they want to get to? And intuition. What things do they know for a fact they need to tighten up? They need to do better. If they did that, it would make all the difference in the world. That intuitiveness. And then there's the commitments that they have to make. What commitments do they have to make to themselves and to others to overcome whatever obstacles that are in their way? And then last but not least, there's environmental factors. These things we can do nothing about, but you have to recognize and pay attention to them, right? Trying to ignore COVID right now would be stupid, right? It would be ridiculous, right? Because no one wants to be a part of someone else's failure, right? So if you contract this illness and you pass it on to someone else, then you are putting them at risk of not accomplishing what they need to accomplish in life. And so it's be better for you to just mask up and keep your distance. It's really that simple. And I think a lot of times people don't pay attention to environmental factors. They don't think about those when they put their goals and their plans and their strategies together. They don't think about what can happen in the overall environment that might slow you down, that might cause a blip in the system, that might create some angst and anxiety. And the more you prepare for that, but just by understanding that it could happen, the better off you deal with it if it does happen. One of the reasons why we have so much problems dealing with COVID-19 right now is because none of us were alive for the last pandemic. We have no connective tissue to experience it from a social point of view. We don't remember. We don't have a collective remembering that was passed on from our parents and our grandparents and through our, we just don't have it because it's been a long time. It's been 100 years since the last global pandemic happened, right? So think about that. But we're going to get through it if any evidence is said. We can get through it. We got through it before. All of us didn't perish during the last Black Death or whatever it was that took a large portion of humanity out. Some people survived. Now, that's not something to hope for. Like some of us are going to survive. Really want as many of us to survive as possible. That means we have to do something, right? We have to exercise some level of input in order to make this happen. I know some of you believe, well, from a religious point of view, we just need to let the thing be whatever it is and let it do what it do. I disagree, but I respect your right to think the way you want to think. But when you come around me, make sure you got a mask on. That's all I'm saying. I won't let you within 10 feet of me without a mask. So, because as for me and mine, we're going to get through this thing, And I want you to, I think that's a very, very important thing for you guys to think through. That's VOICE. That's the VOICE acronym. True Voice stands for vision, obstacles, intuition, commitments, and environmental. And there's questions that I ask around all 5 of those categories that help people come out of their shell, help people express things to other people that they've never expressed before. And then it creates a closeness. There's a reason why people like Barbara Waters and Oprah are so beloved. It's not what they say. It's what they ask. It's the questions that expose people, that help people be authentic and real. And it makes people fall in love because now we understand character. The last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to shut this thing down, is trust requires 2 things: an understanding of a person's character and competence. Competence is something that all of us work on improving all the time. We get degrees, we get certificates, we try to get speaking engagements, whatever it is that's going to prove that we're competent. We try to do those things. We're real schooled at learning how to do those things. Character, on the other hand, although all of us have character, maybe some of us are a character, all of us have character, we're not necessarily good at displaying that character. We don't have a degree on the wall that says, Marvin knows the 6 areas of character, or if you're a man of Phi Beta Sigma, the 12-inch rule, you live your life by the 12-inch rule, right? My brothers would understand what that's all about. But it's 12 ideas that really are reflective of how do you create a great character. And if you don't know them, now you can't necessarily live them or prove that you're living to them. But who's holding you accountable to it? See, these are things that character is slippery. And so we have to figure out, you have to inject on purpose ways for you to figure out how to deal with that so you can get to trust. Because if you don't understand how to trust someone, what to trust in somebody. It's going to be impossible for you not to make a tremendous amount of mistakes by giving trust to people who don't deserve it, or people who you shouldn't give it to. That's going to cause trauma, tragedy. People are going to be upset, and it's just things are not going to work right. But as soon as you get good at learning how to display your authentic character in places where it matters, to people with whom it matters. And since you don't know where those places are and to whom those people are, you probably should practice it all the time. What am I saying? Shorthand, be good all the time. Be patient all the time. Be loving all the time. Be caring all the time. Get good at it. Because when it's all said and done, all of us want to play with people who are just that, competent and have great character. We'll trust them. We'll give them the trust. Eventually, some of us faster than others, because I know that, like everything else in the law of reciprocity, if I don't invest it in someone else, I can't really expect them to invest it in me. And so for those of you that you know who you are, I've tapped you. I've trusted you with things, with people, with ideas, with concepts. I put my reputation on the line for quite a few of you on the call. And I've earned your trust. That's really what it's all about. You got to give it if you want to get it. Now, for those of you who don't know me well enough and we haven't had a chance to interact and play, it's real simple. You can have my trust too. Just ask me for it. I'll tell you exactly what you got to do to get my trust. And then we can play, because I don't want to play JV. I want to play varsity. And so I know I need people on the team that are ready to play at the level that I'm willing to play. And if not, we're going to waste our time with a whole bunch of youthful fumbling. I don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to get right to whatever they want to get to as soon as possible, as effectively as possible, and not necessarily as efficiently, but effectively. That's something that we got to dig into. Maybe unpack that at another date. Again, I don't see any questions out there, so I am going to shut it down. If I did not get to your question, forgive me. It's because I didn't see it. Calvin says I'm going to have to listen to this sermon again. Yeah, I feel you, brother. I'm going to give you guys a few more seconds to ask any questions that you have on any topic we talked about, or anything you want to talk about. Because, sometimes I will go back in the stacks and pull some questions from the chats or the engagements that I have in order to create new content. After I get through these series right now that I'm working on, I'm planning to talk about Vision Quest, how to really, really organize yourself and strategize yourself in a way that the best of you is at work all the time. But if you're interested in something else, interested in anything else, let me know. Put it in the chat. Let the people know about it. Maybe I will pick that topic up and add it to the agenda. Because I think after, what is it, just now, February, March, April. After April, I don't really have any topics. I'm going to pull them from you guys. And so if there's something that you're interested in talking about, hearing about when it comes to SWAM business, small women-owned, minority-owned businesses, disabled veterans, all you guys everybody's in there. So don't want you to feel like anybody's left out of that definition. But I'm just not going to do a soup salad like, other communities have done, because it's just, let's just say everybody who's been economically disadvantaged is somebody that I love to work with when it comes to their business. Let's put it that way. All right. So is anything else that you guys have questions? I don't see any other questions. Calvin says, walk the people through the 5 principles, the ground collaborations, and the Powell method. Those are essential traits for both your inner circle and your advisory council. I don't know which 5 principles you're talking about, Calvin. Maybe you can list them out for me and I can explain them to you, because I got 1,000 principles. I got 5 principles for that, 9 strategies for this, 8 tips for that, 30 tips for this. So you're gonna have to be more specific for me, Calvin. Maybe you can't. I apologize if I put you on blast, and because you're asking a very general question. Well, walk the people through the 5 principles, the ground collaborations, and the Powell method. I'm sorry, bro. I got a whole bunch of methods. And so even if you know the first one, maybe that'll help me out understand which one you're talking about, or one of them. Because can't really get there. Calvin says on LinkedIn, he had an Aikido student for 15 years, an Aikido practicer for fun. I'm passionate about. Okay, just introducing yourself. Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate that. That's really good. And Donnell, talking to Suresh, likewise, good to see you. Okay, Donnell's not a big talker. You just got to get him in person, and he just blah, 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 blah. Okay, guys, since we are closing down, there's no further questions, and we're not having an after party today, so we're gonna shut this party down, and hopefully, you guys got a lot out of it. I'll be posting a lot of connections and photographs and different things of research and all that kind of stuff in the chat a little later on in the show notes. So you can always come back and download, get all kinds of free stuff. Other than that, I will see you all next time, next Friday, hopefully. God bless you and good day.